On the call for a Seahawks game, and Dave and I leading into this game, we're looking at that Jacksonville team coming off a win against the Chiefs, and going, hey, this team's 4-1, and this is not Jacksonville of old. This is somebody to be contended with. And then we watch Trevor Lawrence, who had been sacked 6 total times in 5 games, get sacked 7 times in this game. Was that?
Yeah.
Was that more about what they didn't do well or more about a dominant D-line from the Seahawks?
Well, I think it's amazing when you look at what you had in the back end, because I think Julian Love is as good as any safety in the game. I think that Devin Witherspoon it might be the best nickel in all of football. That guy is a football playing little Jesse. Reek Woolen was out, and I mean, say what you want about Reek, but he's athletic, he's long, he can run. So to come in there with 3 DBs out and to be able to absolutely control the line of scrimmage, I thought that was exceptional. And when you start kind of moving guys around, you had a great rotation with a bunch of um, guys that came off the bench like Mafi and all those guys. Like I thought they were great, and then they kept putting Leonard Williams and Demarcus Lawrence on the same side and running games. I just thought they did. I think Mike Macdonald did a really good job of attacking protections, attacking their offense in general. And I thought, like, Trevor Lawrence, pressure will do that to a lot of quarterbacks, but I thought Trevor Lawrence had his biggest regression. Just his inconsistent play is inconsistent. He was just inconsistent with his accuracy. It was a dominant performance by that defense of Seattle, and it was kind of fun to watch that.
Yeah, it's funny, Mark. It seems like right after they have a blow up, I mean, it's a quick fix for Mike Macdonald, and he's very decisive about knows exactly what went wrong. Tell us about you had a chance to talk to him before the game, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. What were your impressions?
yeah, just no nonsense. Like,
Yeah.
you love a coach that, hey man, if I suck, I want you to let me know that I suck, right?
Hmm.
And one of the things he was just like, listen, we were awful, awful. Day one, like, I've got to be better. Coaching, I'll take that, but you can't bust day one cover 4 principles. You can't. Like, I don't care who you are, and I don't care if you're a backup or not. You can't bust day one principles. You can't let the lack of understanding or execution from the neck up cost you a ball game. And then the other thing he talked about was the poor tackling. He said, I've never seen us tackled, like, you don't run up on a guy and throw yourself at the guy's ankles.
Yeah.
That's never been taught here. That will never be taught here. And he said, and if you do that, you're not going to play for me. He goes, it's either going to be you or me. Either you're going to get cut or I'm going to get fired. And I'm not getting fired for that. Like, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. And I love coaches that don't mess around with stuff like that.
Yeah.
I love it when you just say, hey man, this is where we're at. This is what I need from you. This is where you're not good enough. Like, we're all adults here, and we say it all the time in Denver here. In our room, in our offensive line meeting room, get good or get gone. You either do it, or we're going to find somebody that can. And I love the no nonsense approach, and I really enjoyed my time meeting with Clint Kubiak and meeting with Sam Darnold, who I have a ton of respect for, Ernest Jones, and obviously Mike McDonald. He was incredible.
Hey, Mark, what's your take on Byron Murphy? He's a guy that I had a lot of questions after last year. He had a half a sack in the whole season last year, and I know the interior, you don't produce a ton of stats. He's got 4.5 sacks so far this year, leading the team. I'm just curious what you saw from him in this game.
Yeah, I thought he played exceptionally hard. I thought he did a good job of countering things. But I just thought the whole rush plan was well executed, whether it was, walking up to get your one-on-ones, walking linebackers up to get your one-on-ones, the games, they ran a lot of games, man, and they executed them exceptionally well and really got edges on the offensive line. I thought he did that. Chase down. I think at one point he was chasing down Trevor Lawrence, caught him
Yeah.
on the edge. So, yeah, like all those things, playing exceptionally hard. And listen, man, I will tell you, they got embarrassed, and I guarantee you, they got their ass chewed after that game.
Yes.
I promise you. And to their credit, and we've all had games like that, guy. I mean, every one of us that's played this game has, played a game where you hope they burn the tape and nobody ever sees it because it's an embarrassment.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and I've had a few of those games where I'm just like, man, that was as embarrassing an out, a an outing as I've ever had. And you got to wear it. You got to go in there like a man and take it. You got to be, you got to be able to take the criticism, and then you got to be able to take the correction, and you got to go out there and actually execute. And I thought minus that the one touchdown drive early where they gave up the honey hole shot down the sideline. They gave up. What was the other one? Was it a bubble screen and go? Like they had a couple of
Yeah.
mistakes in coverage that they gave up. And after that, I thought they were spot on with pretty much everything they did.
Yeah, and I thought on both of those plays, Mark, that doesn't happen if you have Spoon and Love out there. And
Yeah.
and I think that we were talking about it earlier that there's a reason why guys are backups. They're good players, in spots and they can play special teams, but it's, you're going up against the ones, and that's
Yeah.
the reason why, right?
Yeah, I think part of that too, Dave, is when you play a lot, man, you learn how to communicate. And and when you play together and you play a lot, man, everybody seems to be on the same page. And I think when you watch Love play, Love is just that guy to me that totally understands what he sees and is instant in reaction. And like that's the difference between being a really good player and being a marginal player. Is guys who don't have a ton of speed, don't run really well, don't jump over boxes, those guys who recognize it and instantly react can make plays. And I'm not saying that Love isn't a great athlete, he's an exceptional athlete, but you can just see him on film, man. He recognizes what's going on and instantly reacts, whether he's in the passing game or in the run game. And then his ability to communicate with everybody else. And I think you see some of that in Kobe Bryant as well. A coverage guy that came in and played nickel as a rookie, and you start to see him make some of the same reactions on that back end at safety. I think he's a guy that has a lot of potential to be really good in this league as well.
You said you had a chance to sit down with Sam Darnold. You obviously watched him play. He's got me convinced now. I mean, he's in the top 5 of just about every statistical category for quarterbacks at this point. And I know for you that doesn't mean a ton, but just what did your eyes tell you? What did your ears tell you when you talked to him?
Man, I've been a Sam Darnold fan. I'm so proud of him. It's so easy to just kind of roll over, and when the league just kind of basically takes a dump on you, and it's easy to lose your confidence and lose your way. And I've told you guys, man, he made a choice to go to San Francisco and learn how to play NFL style football. And then, he goes from there to Minnesota and he puts up an unbelievable season. And then people are like, yeah, but the last 2 games, ooh,
Yeah.
and then he's being able to bring that to Seattle. And I thought one of the big things that talking to Mike Macdonald, he said, my number one thing was, man, I wanted a dude. Like, and you know what? I don't know exactly how to define that. You just know it when you see it. Um, you got at that position, especially, man, you got to have a guy that people believe in, that people want to rally around, that people want to play for. And I just think he's been so good. And to me, his story is so good. And there's several of those, like Baker Mayfield. He's got this unbelievable story where he's getting booted out of organization after organization. Same thing with Sam Darnold. This booted out of one organization to the next, like you put up to MVP caliber statistics in Minnesota, and they say, yeah, we'd rather go with a rookie that hurt his knee and never played last year. Like and say, all right, well, let me move on and figure out a place for me that where I can excel. And it's really cool to watch it. It's really cool to see, a guy like Cooper Kupp come in there and what he has meant to Smith and Jigba, what he's meant to Sam Darnold, the fact that he goes to all the quarterback meetings as well. Like it's pretty cool stuff what's going on right now.
Hey, I don't know what kind of you said, all about the impression that you got from Mike Macdonald, but one of the things about him, you said he's very decisive and like he doesn't sit on his hands. And it's not like that we're coming up on the trade deadline here, but he just seems like the kind of guy that he's going to get it right, because last year, halfway through, it was like, okay, we don't have the right linebackers, so I'm going to fire one and I'm going to trade one. And, and I feel like maybe a little bit of that in the defensive backfield. What do you think that defense needs the most after seeing them over the weekend and studying them all week?
Yeah.
Where do you think is a position that they're likely to, on the defense, make a trade?
Yeah, I would look like at your cornerback on the outside. Like the one thing about Mike Macdonald that strikes me is the guy wants. I don't care that you run super fast. I want football players,
Yeah.
And so I get a guy like Reek Woolen that I think played his best football as a rookie. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the market at some point. Like big, tall cat, very athletically gifted.
Yeah, don't you think that would
It,
attract a lot of trade partners?
oh
That
yeah,
yeah, they're
yeah.
going to
And
fall
I
in
think
love
one
with the
thing.
measurables.
Yeah, I think one thing about NFL, football and organizations, if you think the egos are big in the locker room, walk upstairs to the coach's office. Like I never met a coach that didn't think he could fix somebody or heal
Right.
somebody
Exactly.
or coach somebody up. And I'm not saying that Reek needs fixing, but I watched several games and I really tried to look at everything and I was like, it always feels like he's playing 7-on-7 to me. And I like I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a move there. I'm not saying that they will, but that wouldn't shock me to get another kind of, just more of a like a hard nosed kind of guy that will play some physical press, and jam people and on the outside. I wouldn't that wouldn't surprise me.
Hey, Mark, what was your feeling about the O-line and more specifically the rushing attack? Because you look at their numbers, where they rank. This is a top 5 scoring offense. This is a top 5 passing offense. They're the 24th ranked rushing offense. They didn't run the ball particularly well in this game. It's the one area of the offense that just hasn't found any consistency. Is that more about the backs, the scheme, the line? What do your eyes tell you?
It's probably a little bit of everything, but I think the thing you got to take away is 26 carries. What they average, like less than 3 yards a carry,
Mm-hmm.
but you still found a way to get 26 carries. And you know what that did for you? That created situations on 1st and 10 to hit some shot plays on that defense, where those guys are playing the run and you get some one-on-one opportunities with Smith and Jigba and you get a over route, and all of a sudden you got big plays down the football field, chunk yardage plays, and those things equate to points. And so, I know they didn't play exceptionally well or they didn't have a lot of yards per carry. Part of that was Jacksonville is pretty good up front. Like their front four is pretty good, and Hamilton inside and Eric Armstead. I mean, those guys are really good at defending the run, and the two defensive ends are really good at just controlling the line of scrimmage. So the fact that you still got 26 attempts, I think that's big. I think the other thing is it's a new system and learning how to play together and learning how to run tracks and entry points for the backs and staying on a track is like that's something that has to be coached and has to be worked on, and you have to trust and believe in that. And so I think all that stuff is a work in progress. But the fact that you're still getting 26 carries and they're still having to defend it, and that gives you the opportunity to go over the top in some play action situations and take some shots on 1st down when you're not getting pass rush. I think that's one of the reasons that you guys lead the league in passing, or Sam Darnold lead the league in yards per attempt.
Yeah, that's interesting. You've been the one guy that said that to us,
Mm-hmm.
that it's all about the attempts, more than anything else, that they're sticking with it. And then The other thing, Mark, that jumped out was it kind of reminded me of my first broadcast was 2017 when Jacksonville was starting to amass all of these first-round draft choices, and, they had Jalen Ramsey and Unique Ngakoue and, but that's a team that's just loaded. I mean, you have 2 number 1 overall picks, Trevor Lawrence and I'm blanking on the defensive end. But then,
Trayvon Walker.
Yes, Walker. And then, you've got a bunch of, second pick with Hunter. And I'm curious about him, Travis Hunter, what you thought about him and, where he should sort of settle. But I don't know. It just seems like a good team that I think is pretty well coached, but they've got a ton of talent. And but yeah, seriously, what about Travis Hunter? What'd you see in him?
Yeah, I mean, he's still kind of figuring it out. And I know when he got there, they thought he was very raw from a route running standpoint, and he's growing. He's an exceptional, dynamic athlete, and I think they're probably, if you go through and dig through all the film like I have, there's probably 5 or 6 deep touchdowns they've missed where the ball's never even gotten pushed to him. And so, they're trying to get that done. I think their biggest issue, truly, and it was the biggest issue on Sunday, is the inconsistent nature of their quarterback. He reverts back to bad habits that he developed over the course of 5 years with bad coaching. And so to tie your feet together to your mechanics and to be efficient in doing that, that's a work in progress for Trevor Lawrence. And, and he readily admits it. He's like, hey, man, I'm still working through this stuff. And, all the things that he had to do coming up through the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he just really wasn't coached in a lot of that stuff mechanically. And so when you do get pressure like he got against Seattle, you're going to revert to poor mechanics, to poor foot energy, and inaccurate throws. And there were so many times where receivers digging one off the blades of the grass, or going up for a fingertip catch, and to get yards after catch, to have yards, the yak yardage, you have to communicate defensive leverage with ball placement, accurately putting the ball where it needs to be to avoid a tackle so you can spin in that direction and get extra yardage. And there was not one opportunity that I remember where Trevor put the ball in a place where a receiver could spin to that ball, either inside or outside leverage, and get away from a defender and get an extra 4 or 5 yards. He was, the receivers were going up and making a fingertip catch, coming down and getting instantly tackled because of the inaccuracy of the ball placement. And that was a consistent kind of just a consistent thought process, or a consistent, happening over the course of that game.
Mark, as always, we appreciate you, my friend. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll do it again next week.
All right, let's work on that Canada thing. You guys are close.
Yes, definitely.
Let me know. Let me know what we come up with.
Let's get that stirred up a little bit.
Yeah, let's follow Mark's Twitter, and more importantly, see how many Canadians attack him on there.
Well, like you said, they're too nice, eh?
Yeah, he says, come get a taste. Mark,
all right.
Thanks,
See
man.
you guys.
Thanks, buddy.
There you go. There's Mark Schlereth with us each and every week.